And here we go again. The Suppress Herald. It is a Sunday in Maine, the 2nd of November. Can't believe it. We're into November. We have an election this week. Not a lot going on, but there's some important governor's races around the country. We have some referendums here in Maine, and we've got a lot going on already looking at next year. And boy, did the Suppress Herald is ramping up hard on the propaganda, and it's evident that the government shutdown is at the forefront. And it's very plain that everybody wants to use the government shutdown to their advantage, and the Democrats who own it but refuse to admit it and have the Suppress Herald and all of the mainstream lying propaganda media doing their best to try and prevent you from understanding how simple it is. Just a simple vote, and everything's running, and it's running at the same rate it was running last year, and away we go. But it's plain and simple what's going on here. And it is really starting to be evident that it really is simply about illegal immigrants getting funded for Medicaid. And now we're looking at SNAP benefits, the food stamps for illegals. And here in Maine, it's really interesting. Now, you look at the Suppress Herald, and in the editorial page in the Suppress Herald, you have an article, and this was in Friday, 31st of October, Halloween Friday. And this is a letter to the editor in the Suppress Herald. Republican attack on SNAP benefits weaponizes hunger. Republican attack on SNAP benefits. We wouldn't be having this conversation if Democrats had funded the government with the continuing resolution. It's that simple. But there's a lot at stake here. And, this is from Louisa Duprez, is Professor Emerita of Sociology and Social Policy at the University of Southern Maine. She is a member of the Maine chapter of the Scholars Strategy Network, which brings together scholars across the country to address public challenges and their policy implications, which is a extreme liberal organization on college campuses. It's very simple. And this is just priceless. I mean, it goes through, and it it's just babble. I'm not even going to get into her letter to the editor, the editorial here, but it's just garbage. And the Republicans are not trying to eliminate food stamps, but they are telling people that, hey, if you're able-bodied, you should be able to work at least part-time if we're going to take money from all those hardworking people and give it to the people that are not working. That's pretty simple. Always has been. And whenever you try to limit that or cut back a little bit and get people to work, they attack. We're trying to starve people. But here's a really interesting thing that happened this week. And this is a side that the Suppress Herald and this propaganda media will never share with you. And this is the most important part, is what they suppress. That's why I called it the Suppress Herald when we started this podcast. And this is from the Robinson Report. Steve Robinson, I've mentioned it on this podcast. Here in Maine, he's a real journalist doing real journalism. He's the one who broke the stories about the Chinese grow facilities in northern Maine, houses being bought and rented and turned into grow facilities massively. And meanwhile, Governor Mills' brother was a broker that sold at least one Chinese guy a house that turned into a grow facility. Never heard about that from the Press Herald. Now we have the SNAP benefits situation here in Maine. And Steve Robinson at the Robinson Report broke a story about, and this is right from the actual state budget that Governor Mills submitted to the legislature. And this is a quote in that, and listen to this. State SNAP savings, the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, administered by the states, provides food assistance to eligible low-income individuals. However, federal law prohibits certain non-citizens, including asylum seekers, from receiving these federally funded benefits. Federal law prevents it, and yet they've been doing workarounds and funding both Medicaid and SNAP benefits for illegal immigrants. Maine is one of 5 states that operates a SNAP program with state funding to assist non-citizens. The Mills administration warned the legislature in spring 2023 that the program was rapidly growing. Between 2021 and summer 2024, monthly participation increased from approximately 1,000 beneficiaries to 5,000. So 2021, which is basically a year into the whole COVID pandemic, and summer 2024, just a year ago, they went from 1,000 to 5,000 illegal immigrants. Now, the big thing here is these are people that are not working. These are people that have been given work authorization through Biden administration while you're on asylum, waiting for your asylum claim to be adjudicated in the courts, which can take 4 to 5 years. You get to get a work permit. 5,000 illegal immigrants, it's probably more now, getting illegal immigrants getting SNAP benefits and not working. We're funding them, the hardworking people of Maine. So here's the editorial in the suppressed Herald. Republican attack on SNAP benefits weaponizes hunger. Here's reality. Illegal immigrants, 5,000 plus, getting SNAP benefits, and they're not working. And they're perfectly capable of working, and they've been given special permit to work. And there's reality versus propaganda. Plain and simple. Stark reality. This whole Medicaid, SNAP benefits, illegal immigrants, all of it. And now it's the insurance and it's Obamacare that is underfunded. But the reality is Obamacare, up until just before COVID, was going along and it was failing anyway. Then COVID happened and Biden administration flushed all sorts of extra money into Obamacare and subsidized massively more insurance. Now all this is, they put a time frame on that, which expires at the end of this year, and then it goes back to where it was. Well, they did that. The Democrats did it. They own this. Now they're blaming the Republicans and trying to say that insurance is going up. Obamacare was a failure. It was a disaster from the beginning. There are 100 things wrong with Obamacare that they've never addressed. And quite honestly, shame on the Republicans for not doing something as well. But they couldn't do it without the Democrats' help, and the Democrats have no interest in doing anything with Obamacare, except keep funding it more, more, more. More subsidies until, guess what? This is where it's all headed, folks. This is very, very simple. Obamacare, and I said this to friends back when it happened, Obamacare was the bridge to universal health care, government run health care. I don't know about you, but I don't want the government running my health care, period. But that's their goal, universal health care. When they control your health care, they control you. And there is the biggest problem of all. And that's what this is all about. I mean, these subsidies just keep going up and up and up. Before you know it, we're paying everybody's insurance. Well, who's paying for what? There's nobody left to pay. Everybody's on subsidized health care. Where's the money going to come from? We need to fix the healthcare system, which is broken beyond any imagination. But the Democrats just want to keep throwing money at it until it crashes, and then they can just put in universal health care. That's the end run. That's the long game all along, ever since Obamacare was put into law, period. So that's where we're at. And, this continues. And this is in the opinion section in today's Suppress Herald. And you have the title, Healthcare continues to hold America hostage. Congress has turned a lifeline into a bargaining chip. Well, see, this is the thing. It never should have been a lifeline. Back in the day, you had insurance. Everybody shared the risk. And when people got sick, healthy people's premiums, that's how insurance actually works. We've lost sight of insurance. We've also lost sight of cost controls and a system where you have visibility on what things cost. I am shocked when I look at bills that I get. I recently did some PT, and there's like six different things. I go for an hour of PT, and there's six different items on there, and it's $250, $300 for one visit for an hour at PT. It's insane. It's because the system has put this in place. It's just like nicking people, and insurance has propped it up, and it's there's nothing connected to a market-based cost, real real cost basis for any of it. It's a disaster. And the government requirements for the HIPAA laws that put all these requirements and costs in place, and you just have massive administrative costs on going to the doctor. There are probably 30 people involved with me going to PT. That's where the problem and the insanity is. But here you have healthcare continues to hold America hostage. The American healthcare system doesn't run on compassion. It runs on fear, fear of illness, fear of debt, fear of being uninsured. Yeah, fear of liberals. How about that? How about fear of liberalism ruining our healthcare system? And here's the best part. The author of this editorial in the Suppress Herald is Betsy Saltonstall. Betsy Saltonstall is a philanthropic advisor. What the hell is a philanthropic advisor? Based in Rockport. Her work focuses on civic engagement, equity, and the intersections of democracy and economics. What the? Talk about someone sucking society dry. A philanthropic advisor doing absolutely nothing. But she wrote an article and it got printed in the Press Herald. That's what you get. We've got these absolute idiots who contribute absolutely nothing. Does she contribute anything to healthcare? Does she contribute anything to society? No. She takes and whoever's paying her, I can't imagine how she gets money as a philanthropic advisor. But there you have it. And she writes this gobbledygook article and takes on the healthcare. Again, end run, I guarantee you, universal healthcare. Healthcare for all. Actually, what it is bad healthcare for everyone. So that is more of this whole argument, conversation, and again, they play on fear. Speaking of which, let's move on. Let's also talk about climate change because, geez, we haven't had much of that lately. And this is in the climate weather section. You just can't get away from libs anywhere in the Suppress Herald paper. So it's, 40 pages of propaganda. And what we have here is climate change increasingly cited by young Americans as a reason not to have children. They probably are also a reason why there are half of them are going insane and need mental health treatment. But there you have it. Amanda Pareto isn't sure she'll ever have children. She just is so worried. Climate impact of children. They've been told that people are ruining the planet. So, geez, we can't have more people. Let's get rid of them all. Let's not forget Bill Gates. Bill Gates came out. He was recorded at some think tank session talking about we got to get rid of people. And then, miraculously, the pandemic happened. But we've been told by the propagandists that man is ruining the planet, and so we need less men, women, basically people in the world to save the planet. And taboo or not, climate is a factor in people's choices. So basically, this just reinforces that climate change is this threat to the world, to our future, and we're all going to die. Why have children? This is just incredible. More of the same, scare tactics, gobbledygook. But here's an interesting one that didn't make it into the Suppress Herald. This is in the Epoch Times. I would posit that this is an actual news organization. And this is the best. This is just priceless. It's in the science section of the Epoch Times, a real editorial and news organization. And this is the title. Prediction of Climate Catastrophe Loses Some of Its Strongest Advocates. This is a quote. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future, Bill Gates said in a hotly debated op-ed. Bill Gates wrote an op-ed. And this whole doomsday thing is overblown, and there's a shift in this whole debate. Bill Gates, who was a, messiah to a lot of people, and he's saying, wait a minute, we should not be not having children as cited in the Suppress Herald. Young Americans, that's a reason for them not to have children. And here's Bill Gates, but gee, that didn't make it into that article. Isn't that funny? Bill Gates's comment that we shouldn't be so worried that we're all going to be fine. Let me tell you something. The science is losing its mind. The science is being discovered to be completely flawed on everything you've been told about climate change. Yes, climate is changing, but it is not CO2 driven, man made to the level or extremism that they're talking about. And it's not going to be catastrophic and the end of the world. Interesting. I think this trend is going to continue, but what's going to be interesting to see is how long the Suppress Herald and the other mainstream media take to figure out that they're on the wrong side of history here. It's being discovered, the science is coming out, CO2 Coalition and other organizations with very, very high level scientists. The CO2 Coalition has a couple of Nobel Prize winning scientists, PhDs, one from Princeton, the other one from MIT. Those are pretty good institutions to have, physicists that are on record saying, wait a minute, we're overblown. Climate change is not the existential threat to mankind or the earth, and we need to just be reasonable. It will be interesting to see how long it takes the suppressed Herald and the mainstream media to catch up because they are falling behind the whole global warming, basically science, which is emerging, which is stop the nonsense, stop the stupidity, stop destroying lives and standards of living, and especially third world countries, denying them the energy that they need to grow and to basically advance and to have a better standard of living, a healthier place to live, and have food. Fertilizer comes from basically natural gas. And so as a result of this, the world's a better place with energy. Stop denying energy to people. Stop destroying the economy with outrageous prices. Here we are in Maine, 24 cents a kilowatt hour. I never thought in my lifetime it'd be like that. It's insane. And they've done it and they deny it, and the suppressed Herald will never tell you about it. But people are catching on because they are getting their news from real sources. Science is starting to break through the actual science, kind of like men and women, and there's two sexes, that science is going to win the day in the end. And we're getting back to, hopefully, sanity. But there's a big propaganda machine that's not going to give up easily. So just remember, there's a propaganda machine out there. It's massive. And if you're watching this podcast, follow the podcast because I'm going to continue to report on these, call them dichotomy of reality, liberal reality versus reality. And it's right there. You can see it in your local papers, such as the Suppress Herald. There are hundreds or thousands of these papers and media organizations across the country. A lot of them are on the side of propaganda, just repeating the same lies and disinformation. And slowly but surely, reality is creeping through, making headway, and we can hope we get back to a place where people can just live lives, stop worrying that the planet's going to end, stop worrying about being overrun and our culture being destroyed and our schools being destroyed and our towns and cities being destroyed by liberalism, period. It's that simple. So just remember, politics indeed is local, and so is propaganda. And here at the Press Herald, we'll keep talking about it. I hope you'll share, send the link, Rumble, YouTube, let people know. And I appreciate people following and listening in. And we'll keep bringing you what we find as reality. Reality checks right now, at least once a week, and hope you'll follow along.